7 years. That's how long I loved him. That's how long I thought I knew him. And on the night we were supposed to celebrate everything we built together, he stood in front of our closest friends and turned it into something else, something calculated. I saw it in his eyes before he even spoke. Something had changed. And then I found the message. Just one line. But it shattered everything. Suddenly, the anniversary, the smiles, the cake, it all felt like a setup. I thought I was coming to a celebration. Instead, I walked straight into a trap. And the worst part, it wasn't just about him. It was about his brother. And a truth I never imagined would be dragged out like that, in front of everyone. I stayed quiet at first. I listened. I let him speak. But when the truth finally came out, it destroyed everything. This isn't just a breakup story. It's what happens when love turns into revenge. And I never saw it coming. I should have known something was off the moment I walked into the room. Everything looked perfect. The candles, the flowers, the long dinner table lined with all our closest friends and family. The number 7 stood tall behind the cake, gold and shiny, like it was proud of how far we'd come. 7 years. 7 years together. And tonight was supposed to be the celebration of that. But then I saw him. He was standing at the far end of the room, drink in hand, barely smiling. Not the usual warm, teasing smile I was used to. No, this one was tight, controlled, like his face had forgotten how to be soft with me. And maybe that's what made my heart flutter the wrong way. Not with excitement, with worry. I tried to shake it off. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe he had a surprise planned. After all, we'd been talking about getting engaged. We weren't rushing it. But everyone knew it was coming. I even had my nails done just in case. Stupid, I know. I walked over to him, trying to act like everything was normal. "Hey, you okay?" I asked, brushing his arm. He nodded. "Yeah, just a lot of people." But that wasn't it. He's never been shy around crowds, especially not people we both know. Still, I smiled, took the glass of wine he handed me, and told myself not to ruin the night with overthinking. We sat down for dinner. Everyone was laughing, talking, clinking glasses. I tried to get into it, really tried, but I kept feeling his eyes on me, watching, studying, not in the loving way he usually does. It was something colder, like he was seeing me for the first time and not liking what he saw. Then, the weirdest thing happened. I reached for my phone to take a photo of the cake, and it buzzed in my hand. A text from his brother. And no, I didn't open it. I didn't have to. The preview was enough to punch the air out of my lungs. "Does she know you told me you still think about that night?" My heart stopped. My hands started shaking, but I couldn't react. Not in front of everyone. Not yet. So I shoved the phone under the table and smiled like nothing happened. Like my stomach wasn't suddenly full of knives. What night? What did that even mean? I looked at him. He was already looking at me. No phone in his hand. No expression on his face. Just waiting. That's when the room started to feel colder. The noise around me faded. I could hear my own breathing. Feel the pulse in my neck. I took a sip of wine just to keep my hand from trembling. His brother. Why would his brother text him that? Why would he still be talking about anything that happened between them? It couldn't mean what I thought it meant. Could it? I didn't know what to believe. And the worst part was I couldn't ask. Not here. Not now. The party was still going. People were still laughing. The cake hadn't even been cut. And then it hit me. Maybe that was the plan. Maybe he wanted me to see it. Maybe that's why he gave me the wine. Maybe that's why he was acting so strange, because he was building up to something. Something that had nothing to do with love. I kept playing it all back in my head every time he got distant. Every moment he seemed distracted. I had brushed it all off. Blamed stress or work or whatever. But now, all of it came crashing down in one terrifying, humiliating wave. And the worst thing was, I loved him. God, I loved him so much. Even in that moment, I wanted it to be some stupid misunderstanding. I wanted him to whisper, "It's not what you think," and pull me aside to explain it all away. But he didn't. He raised his glass, cleared his throat, and gave me that look again, the one I couldn't read. And deep down, I think I knew whatever was about to happen was going to change everything. This wasn't just an anniversary party anymore. It was a setup, and I was the one about to be unwrapped. In front of everyone. I couldn't stop thinking about that text. Even as people passed the bread, poured more wine, cracked jokes across the table, my mind was stuck on those few words. Does she know you told me you still think about that night? It just kept echoing in my head, over and over, until it was the only thing I could hear. I tried to stay present. I really did. I nodded, smiled, even laughed at a few things I didn't hear. But inside, I was spiraling. I thought about asking him right there, pulling him aside and demanding an answer. But I didn't want to make a scene. I still had hope. Hope that maybe I was misinterpreting. That maybe it wasn't what it sounded like. But that hope was dying with every second he avoided looking at me. And then I did something I'm not proud of. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, and opened his text thread with his brother. I knew it was wrong. I knew I was crossing a line. But something inside me said I had to. I needed answers before I completely lost it. And that's when I saw it. The messages weren't new. They went back months. Little things, comments I had never noticed, jokes that didn't make sense until now. But then, I found the message that made my chest go numb. I don't know what to do, man. I still think about her. I know it's wrong. I know she's with me now. But sometimes I wonder. I couldn't breathe. It was him, my boyfriend, talking about me, and his brother. The night they'd kissed. The night he swore meant nothing. The night I had forgiven because we weren't official then. And he told me it was just a mistake, that it would never happen again. But now, after all these years, he was still thinking about it, still wondering. I just sat there, shaking, reading those messages over and over again until the words blurred. And that's not even the worst part. The worst part was realizing that his brother still had feelings for me too. His replies weren't angry. They weren't confused. They were soft, almost careful, like he didn't want to ruin anything, but also didn't want to lie. You don't have to do anything. She's yours. You got the girl, bro. Let's not mess it up. But that was it. That one line. You got the girl. Like I was some prize. Like they had both wanted me. And he just won. I felt sick. I stood in that bathroom for 10 minutes, trying to pull myself together, splashing cold water on my face, telling myself to just get through the night. But when I looked at my reflection, I didn't even recognize the girl staring back. She looked like she already knew the ending. And it wasn't happy. When I finally stepped back out, the room had shifted. It was subtle, but I could feel it. People were quiet, whispering, glancing at me and then looking away. And my boyfriend, he was standing again, near the cake this time, glass in hand, tapping it gently with a spoon like he was about to give a toast. That's when my stomach dropped, because I knew him. I knew that look on his face. He wasn't nervous anymore. He looked steady, almost smug, like he had made a decision, and nothing was going to stop him now. He cleared his throat, smiled at everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight. He started. I barely heard the rest. I was too busy trying to hold myself together. My legs were trembling. My hands were still wet. And I was trying not to scream, because I realized something in that moment. This wasn't about love anymore. This was about control. He wanted me to see those messages. He wanted me to find out right here, in front of everyone. He wanted me to unravel in public, to make me look crazy, emotional, dramatic, so that if I exploded, if I caused a scene, it would all fall on me. He'd walk away clean. It was all a game to him. And I was just now realizing I'd been playing it blind. As he kept talking, thanking people, laughing about old memories, I stood there frozen, still holding my phone, still holding my glass. And I made a choice. I wasn't going to cry. Not yet. I wasn't going to run. I was going to wait. I was going to listen. Because whatever he had planned, I needed to see it all. I needed the full truth. No matter how much it hurt. I didn't know what was coming next, but I could feel it building. The tension, the setup, the betrayal. And I knew one thing for sure: this party wasn't ending with a kiss or a ring. It was ending with a truth bomb, one I was never supposed to see. It was right after the toast. Everyone clapped. People smiled. even though none of them really understood what he was trying to say. It sounded like a regular speech full of sweet words and fake gratitude, but every sentence felt rehearsed, like it was written for a stage, not a table full of people who loved us. He raised his glass, looked me right in the eye, and said, "To 7 years, and to finally telling the truth." And just like that, my whole body went cold. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but the way he said it, slow, steady, with this strange look of satisfaction, I knew something was coming. Something calculated. The room shifted again. It got quieter, like even the people who didn't know what was going on could feel the tension wrapping tighter. Then he said, "But first, let's cut the cake." Everyone laughed, relieved, like they thought the heavy part was over. It wasn't. I stepped aside as they brought the cake forward, trying not to look at him, trying to breathe normally. I could barely swallow. My hands were shaking again. And then, right as I was about to reach for the knife, I felt a buzz in my hand. My phone. Another message. But not from him this time. It was from his brother. Just 2 words. "Can we talk?" I froze. Out of all the people who could have reached out at that exact moment, it was him. The one person I didn't want to hear from, and the only person who could tell me the truth. I looked across the room. There he was, standing by the doorway, alone, his face pale, jaw tense. He looked nervous, guilty, like he wanted to disappear. I slipped out quietly. No one noticed. All eyes were on the cake, on the couple about to celebrate 7 years of love. What a joke. I found him in the hallway, near the coat closet. His back was to me, like he was still deciding whether to say anything at all. I didn't even let him start. "You knew," I said. He turned around, eyes wide. Yeah, I did." "How long?" I asked. He didn't answer at first, just looked down, rubbed the back of his neck like he was trying to gather courage. "Since that night," he finally said. "Since the kiss. Since I knew he wanted you. More than he admitted." I wanted to scream, cry, hit something, but all I said was, "And you never thought to tell me?" He looked wrecked. I wanted to, so many times, but I thought he'd move on. I thought he loved you enough to let it go. Let it go. I snapped. "You think this is something he just lets go?" "He's still talking about it. Still thinking about it. After all these years." He nodded slowly. "I know. That's why I texted you tonight. I saw the way he was acting. I had this gut feeling he was going to do something." "What kind of something?" And then he said it. "I think he's going to tell everyone." My heart dropped. "Tell them what?" I asked. He swallowed hard. "He's going to say I came onto you, that I tried to ruin your relationship, that I've been in love with you this whole time. He's going to twist everything." And in that moment, I realized the setup wasn't just for me. It was for both of us. He wasn't just trying to humiliate me. He was trying to destroy his brother too. Paint us as the villains. Make himself the victim. It all made sense now. The toast, the cold glances, the timing of that text. All of it. I leaned against the wall, dizzy. I trusted him. I whispered. I defended him. I believed him when he said that kiss was meaningless. I believed him too, his brother said, until I saw the way he looked at you, the way he talked about you when you weren't around. He never let it go. We stood there in silence for a minute, and then I asked the question I had been dreading. "Did you ever feel the same?" He looked me in the eye. No hesitation. "Yeah, I did. I still do, if I'm being honest. But I never acted on it. Not after that night. Not once. Because he had you, and I respected that. And that broke me. Not because of what he said, but because of what it meant. I had spent 7 years with someone who lied, manipulated, and planned, while the person he hated most for one mistake had actually been the only one telling the truth. It was never about the kiss. It was about the insecurity it planted. And he had let that grow into something twisted. I didn't know what to do. My head was spinning. My heart was torn. But one thing was clear: I couldn't go back in there and pretend. The truth was out now, and nothing was going to stop what came next. I didn't want to go back into that room. Every part of me was screaming to leave, to just walk out and never look back. But something deeper, maybe pride, maybe anger. It told me to stay, to see it through. If he was planning to humiliate me, I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of walking out first. So I walked back in. Everything was just how I left it. The cake had been cut. People were back in their seats, laughing again, sipping champagne like nothing was brewing under the surface. But when he saw me return, his smile twitched, just for a second, like he wasn't expecting me to come back. Good. I sat down slowly, my heart beating so loud I could hear it in my ears. My hands were cold, my mouth dry. I kept telling myself to breathe, just breathe. Then he stood up again, tapped his glass with a fork, and said, "Before we wrap this night up, I want to say a few more things. One last toast for the truth." And that was it. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just about us anymore. He wanted an audience. He looked around the room like he was building suspense. A few people chuckled awkwardly. Others looked confused. My best friend shot me a glance, like, "What's going on?" I didn't answer. I couldn't. He cleared his throat. 7 years ago, I met someone who changed my life. She made me believe in love again, in trust, in partnership. And for a while, it was perfect. But sometimes, people hold on to secrets. And sometimes those secrets come back in ways you never expect. My stomach flipped. Here it comes. He paused, made eye contact with his brother who was standing near the back now, arms folded, face tight, and then looked at me. I wasn't going to say anything tonight. I was going to let it go. But then I realized, if we're celebrating love, it should be real. It should be honest. I whispered under my breath, "Don't do this." But he kept going. "I found out something recently," he said, pacing a little now, pretending like he was searching for the right words. Something that shook me, that made me question everything. About trust, about loyalty, about the people closest to me. He looked around the room, letting the silence linger. People were locked in now. No one was eating. No one was drinking. Everyone was waiting for the drop. I found out that the woman I've been with for 7 years had something with my brother. The room gasped, literally gasped, like a movie. I could hear forks drop. Someone whispered, "Oh my God," and I just sat there, frozen. He wasn't done. Not just before we were official. Not just some silly fling. I found messages, old messages, things that were never meant to be seen. Conversations, feelings, secrets. And it wasn't just one mistake. It was emotional, ongoing. It was betrayal. I stood up. "Are you serious? Right now?" I said. My voice cracked. He turned to me like he'd been waiting for that. "You think I'd stay quiet? Let you sit here pretending everything's fine while you lied to my face?" His brother stepped forward. "That's not what happened." But he cut him off. "You don't get to speak." The room was dead silent. No one knew what to do. Some looked away. Some stared like they were watching a car crash in slow motion. I couldn't breathe. "Do you know what it feels like?" he said. "To look at someone every day and wonder if they ever really loved you. Or if they were just trying to convince themselves they did." Tears welled up in my eyes. "I never cheated on you," I said. "You know that." I was honest. "I told you what happened before we were official. I never hid anything from you. But you left out how deep it went," he said, voice shaking now. "How he still talks to you. How you still care." I looked around. Everyone was staring. I felt naked, exposed. And that's when I realized this wasn't about justice or truth. It was about revenge. He didn't care about healing. He cared about hurting. "Why now?" I asked. "Why wait until tonight?" He smiled, a bitter small smile, "Because I wanted you to feel what I felt. Shock, humiliation, doubt." I looked him dead in the eye. "You don't get to play the victim when you plan the punishment." Silence. And for the first time, I saw a flicker of guilt in his face. But it was too late. The damage was done. The room was split. Friends whispered to each other. Some looked at me with pity. Others avoided my eyes completely. I felt broken, but strangely, also free. Because everything was out now. There were no more secrets. No more pretending. He used the truth as a weapon. But I still had something he didn't, my voice. And I wasn't done yet. I don't even remember how the party ended. People left quickly. Some hugged me. Some didn't say a word. A few just stood there awkward, like they didn't know which side to take. And honestly, I didn't blame them. No one wants to be in the middle of something that ugly. No one wants to admit that sometimes love stories end like war zones. He didn't come after me. Not when I stepped outside. Not when I walked past the cake table. Not even when I left the front door open behind me. And that said more than anything else he could have shouted. I sat in my car for a long time before driving, just staring at the wheel, heart still racing, cheeks still burning. My hands were shaking so badly I couldn't even put the key in right. I wasn't crying. Not yet. I was just numb. 7 years. 7 years of birthdays, vacations, Sunday mornings, and stupid inside jokes. And now, I was driving away from it all with nothing but the echo of his words still ringing in my ears. You think I'd stay quiet? I wanted you to feel what I felt. It was never about the truth. It was about punishment. He needed to make me feel small so he could feel big again. He needed control. But I saw something in his face when I walked out. A flash of something he didn't expect to feel. Regret, maybe. Or fear. Like maybe he realized too late that he couldn't undo what he'd just done. And maybe I wanted that. Maybe, deep down, I wanted him to feel it. The loss. The silence. I didn't go home that night. I drove around aimlessly, the city lights blurry through my windshield. I ended up at a 24-hour diner at 2 in the morning, drinking cold coffee, and staring at the cracks in the table. I kept replaying everything over and over again. The message, the speech, the lies, the look in his brother's eyes when he tried to speak and got shut down. That's when it hit me. None of this had ever really been about the past. It was about insecurity, about control, about this quiet, festering resentment he had been carrying for years. He didn't trust me, not really. And instead of facing that with honesty, he waited until it could be weaponized. And the truth is, I wasn't perfect either. Maybe I should have cut off contact with his brother completely. Maybe I should have known better than to keep any kind of friendship there. But I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I tried to be honest. And that honesty got twisted into ammunition. That's the part that hurts the most. Not the betrayal. Not the embarrassment. But knowing that someone I loved didn't see me clearly anymore. Or maybe never did. You think after 7 years, someone knows your heart. But sometimes people only know the version of you that fits their fears. I went back the next day not to talk to him, but to pack my things. The house felt hollow, like the party had stripped it of everything warm. I didn't cry as I folded shirts or boxed up old photo frames. I didn't even flinch when I found the anniversary card I'd written him, still sealed on the kitchen counter. He wasn't home. There was no note, no apology, just silence. And maybe that was his answer. I left my key on the table and walked out, without looking back. And that should have felt like a loss, right? Walking away from almost a decade of love, memories, shared plans. But it did end. It felt like breathing for the first time in years, because the truth, no matter how painful, how messy, how humiliating, sets you free. And in the end, I'd rather walk away with the truth than stay trapped in a beautiful lie. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust like that again, but I know what I won't do. I won't shrink myself to keep someone else secure. I won't live under silent suspicion, and I won't let love become a weapon. So yeah, I walked away with nothing. And no closure, no explanation, no final goodbye. But I walked away with the truth, and sometimes that's the only thing worth carrying.